As a horror fan, nothing brings a bigger smile on my face than to seeing a well-done, executed horror film. And with that, I'm working with to another episode of the Romantour. My goal, as always, is to enhance your movie watching experience. So, A Quiet Place, a movie I was really excited about. It's got a lot of good early buzz from one of the film festivals early this year. I love horror, so I'm always looking out for the next good horror film. And this movie delivers on many fronts. There's actually John Krasinski stars in this, and what's interesting, he actually directs the movie. Of course, those are familiar with him. He's Jim from The Office, a show I loved. And it's amazing to see him. And he's not his first time directing. He did a few episodes of The Office, and he had another one or two small movies that nobody really saw. But this, after seeing this movie, proves that he can just do more than look at the camera, smirk, and play pranks on Dwight Schrute. Alongside Krasinski, we have Emily Blunt, who I absolutely love. And this is actually a unique story here, because this is obviously, we have Krasinski and Emily Blunt together raising a family in a world that's completely different from what we've seen, that I've seen recently. The timeline's irrelevant. I'm not sure how far. It's not a movie that takes place in the future or anything like that. They don't really talk about the timeline. That's one of the things I actually like with this movie. They don't really waste time with the exposition of setting this world up. It kind of puts you right in the middle of it, and you pick it up pretty fast. It tells you what's happening by some newspaper articles and headlines laying around in their house. And any smart audience member could read these things as you focus on it, and you understand exactly where they're at. You know, for those who are unfamiliar with the premise, we have here, this family down on the farm, and apparently there's been a world epidemic. These monsters, or whatever the case is, are roaming around, and they're attracted by sound. They don't have any sight, and attracted by sound. So if you make any sound above a whisper, they will hunt you down and hunt and track you down in a second. So now this family and everybody really out there is forced to live in a world in virtual silence. This is a great premise because it presents you, gives you a different take on this monster kind of horror movie, something we're not really used to, and it's executed so well. Krasinski does a great job on the execution of this premise. It's easy to cut off and flat, but Krasinski is an underrated actor. Emily Blunt's fantastic, and even the kids in this movie, they're all great. And what's great about it is that, there's barely any dialogue, because you can't really speak that much, because if you talk, the creatures will hear you and they hunt you down. And any sound they make, so you see this world with the living and how they try to survive, and things they do to survive on a day-to-day basis. And the timeline with the movies, it's been over a year and a half, almost 2 years, that they're living in this fashion. And they hint that it's not just happening in this small town, it's happening all over the world. But they just key on this one family and their struggle to survive on a daily basis. Now, first and foremost, like I always say, any good horror movie needs to be scary. That's the most important part, and this movie delivers on the scares. And Krasinski ratchets up the tension here, because you spend the movie almost in silence. There is some dialogue, of course, and they communicate by almost like by a sign language for the most part. There is some moments of dialogue here and there, but they're very sparse throughout the movie. And you kind of really get a sense of what they're going through, living in this silence and imagining, oh my God, how can one live like that? Not making a sound, walking barefoot every day, or creating paths of sand so you're able to walk outside. And the minute you make a sound, you're pretty much a goner. So it's a fascinating premise that they creates here. And like I said, it's the execution which elevates this from could have been a very cheesy movie to something what I thought was an excellent, well-made horror film. And it's this tension, because he does a good job of putting out the really cool music in there to kind of break the monotony of the silence, and that's very necessary, because I can get old, seeing a silent movie for the most part. I mean, it's not, but in those terms. But it's that tension that ratchets up, and particularly the last, 30, 35 minutes of this movie, man, it's edgy. You see, and it's fascinating. You actually care about these characters who, there's not a whole lot of character development, because it's difficult to do that when you can't speak. But he creates this family dynamic where you feel for what they are, and you feel what they're going through, and you care, and you give a shit about these characters and them surviving, which is why the payoff is so great when these creatures are chasing them throughout the house and outside the farm and what have you. And the moment they make a sound, you hold your breath, because you know something is coming. And the movie does such a good job of setting this up throughout the film. This one I absolutely love. It's so creative, something different we're not really used to. And at the end, it's got a great payoff. It's got actually a nice little emotional punch. So this movie overall, it's not just a great horror movie, it's a great movie, period, because it gives you characters that you care about, fascinating premise, interesting story, great execution, and of course it delivers the scares. This movie transcends the horror movie genre per se, much like what It did last year, where it was more than just a horror movie, it was just a good film. And it's exactly what this movie is. I can't recommend this movie enough. If you're a horror fan, absolutely go watch this. Unique, different, and more importantly, scary. So A Quiet Place, are you gonna watch it? You should. Comment below, let me know what you guys thought about it. And of course, if you haven't done so already, subscribe below and feed money to go to the movies and talk about it afterwards. See you guys next time.